I'm your Jesus-loving and potty host, L.A. Sprague. Welcome to Christians with Chronic Illnesses. Hey Jordan, I'm so happy to have you here on Christians with Chronic Illnesses.
I'm happy to be here.
Thanks. Okay, so why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? What are some of your hobbies? What do you do?
Well, I run a farm, and so that takes up most of my time, but I actually really enjoy reading and painting and cooking.
Is it like a farm at your house?
Yes.
That's really cool. What all do you have?
Not a lot. We bought it a year ago, and so we've been kind of building it up. So
Oh,
we've been working on fences, and we just finished the small barn for the animals, and then we're going to start building a chicken coop soon.
oh, exciting. So no animals yet?
Not yet. Chickens are going to be
Number
our
one.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
we're gonna get 3 more dogs, a puppy for our current puppy, and then 2 guardian livestock dogs to go with our goats and cows when we get them.
Dang, that's gonna be so much.
It
Wow.
is, but we're really excited.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see you manage that with chronic illness. That'll be an adventure, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
All right, so you're like, what do they call that? Is that like homesteading? Is that homesteading or is that different?
Yeah, I would think it's homesteading.
Okay, sweet. So you're into homesteading or at least farming. What
Yeah.
else? What are some of your other passions?
Like I said, I'm kind of simple. I really enjoy art. I do a lot of painting. There's a lot of murals around the house.
Oh, but that's beautiful.
They are kind of nerdy. They're all Lord of the Rings themed.
That's awesome. I love the Lord of the Rings, so that's great.
Oh, that's awesome. We do too. It's on our bedroom door, I have Hobbiton, like a hobbit house with flower garden and stuff. And
So
then I plan on a few more. Like our guest door has the prancing pony sign and stuff and looks like wood.
are the walls literally is it painted on the wood or is it like things that you hang up?
So the hobbit door is actually painted on the door. I painted the other door to look like, rustic wood, but there is an actual sign that I painted that says the prancing pony on it. That
That's
is
so
stuck to the
cool.
door.
Yeah, that's really neat. I love that. Which is your favorite movie out of the three?
Oh man, that's hard.
If you're a Lord of the Rings fan listening, comment your favorite. Okay, we'll include Hobbit in this too. How you can have the Hobbit, you can have the Lord of the Rings. I won't go Rings of Power because I feel like this is a series, so it's a little different.
I have never seen that.
Oh,
I
okay.
will say it's probably the last movie of the Lord of the Rings series. I think it's Return of the King.
Yeah. We love the hope at the end. It's great.
I do, and just the giant battles. I don't know. It's
Favorite,
gritty, great. There's hope.
yeah, favorite character.
Oh man. So here's the problem. One of my favorite characters is shown poorly in the movie,
Oh,
but is awesome in the book.
okay. Who is it?
I love Pippin.
Okay.
Pippin was not this goofy laughing stock that they made him in the movie. Neither was Mary. They were actually pretty fierce, and I love it.
Oh man, they just needed
Oh,
a comedy relief character, so I guess they got the target. Huh?
it was unfortunate, but in the books, they're amazing. They're still my favorite. I don't care.
Very cute. Sweet. So you love art and painting, farming, homesteading. And I think you had also mentioned that you're studying to be an herbalist?
Yes, I want to become a certified herbalist. I'm trying to go through the Christian Guild, which they have a number of things that you have to do, like so many hours of education with anatomy, physiology, that kind of stuff. And I'm still working through it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I look forward to hearing what that profession, I guess, brings you if you're going to do a profession with it. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to see where that leads you in the future. That's really neat.
Thank you. I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your faith.
Well, I grew up in a Christian home and I got saved at 13. I was always kind of in the church until probably my teenage years. Unfortunately, I was on my own at 16.
Mm.
And so between that and my mid 20s, I will say I probably had a crisis of faith.
Yeah.
but I came back towards my later 20s. Like I never gave up on God. I always prayed and stuff, but I was very lukewarm, you know. I I hadn't been to church in years until we moved here, and so it was kind of an interesting journey. I really, and this is sad to say, really didn't come back until I got sick and realized,
Mm,
oh, I need a stronghold, like someone
mm.
to lean on.
Yeah, desperate times tend to do that.
Yeah.
Tend to lead us to something bigger than ourselves, to needing hope and truth. So what's your diagnosis, if you don't mind sharing?
I have, unfortunately, a number of them,
All right.
but I'll
Lay
just
them
know
out.
they're all kind of interconnected.
All right.
It started with IBS,
Okay. What's
then
IBS?
irritable bowel syndrome,
Okay.
and then came the PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Okay.
And after that, I ended up with psoriasis. And the most recent one was Hashimoto's thyroiditis.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So what was your first diagnosis?
It was the irritable bowel
It was
syndrome.
the
I've
irritable
had
bowel
that
syndrome. Okay.
since I was 13.
So what is that? Like, I mean, it sounds kind of self-explanatory, but why are the bowels being irritated?
A lot of people don't know. There's a lot of, I don't know. This is something you're just going to have to deal with in the medical community. But what it comes down to, from my research and from the doctor that I have currently, it comes down to just a lot of inflammation from what you're eating and what you're exposed to. And then your gut bacteria is out of whack.
Hmm.
So you'll have a lot more overgrowth or bad bacteria than you will good. And that causes issues. And then there's like
Hmm.
different branches of IBS. Like you can be chronically constipated. You could be constipated
Hmm.
with diarrhea, or you could just have like diarrhea.
Does it bring on any other symptoms besides constipation and diarrhea?
Yeah, you can have gas, you can have bloating, vomiting, nausea. And
Ugh.
then it also causes chronic inflammation because it causes leaky gut, which allows like food particles and toxins to slip into your bloodstream, which causes your immune system to be like on high alert.
Hmm.
And it can also block nutrient absorption, which causes a whole lot of other issues.
What kind of issues can that cause?
Well, if you're not getting, B vitamins, you're tired. Let's see, if you don't have absorption of vitamin D, zinc, or selenium, that can affect your thyroid and other imbalances in your body.
So, is there a cure, or has there been anything that's helped?
There's no cure for it, but what my doctor had me do is when we focused on, okay, we need to change your diet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got rid of a lot of foods that I was allergic to. Some of them I didn't even realize. Once we did that, that helped a lot. And then we got rid of a lot of processed food. And then she gave me a gut bacteria test, which helped us see, okay, I have these overgrowths. We need to get those under control. And you're missing
Hmm.
these bacteria. So we have to get those back in there.
Yeah, I
And
didn't
so
even
once
realize there was a test you could take.
a lot of people don't. I don't know if it's newer or not. I know it's kind of expensive, but it's worth it.
Hmm.
It's kind of awkward. I'm going to warn anyone who decides to do it. It's awkward, but it's
Hmm.
definitely worth it.
Okay, so changing diet really helped for you and getting that test to kind of navigate where the imbalances were.
Yeah.
So what were some foods for you? Like, I know that you mentioned like you started going more, did you say more like natural foods?
Natural foods, trying to do clean eating. I did the lion diet for a while and then I switched to carnivore and now I'm eating a more balanced diet now that I'm
Hmm.
more stable.
Yeah. Did you find those helpful?
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes.
Good. Good. I'm really happy to hear that. I've never heard of the lion diet before, though.
So it is literally eating red meat. You eat like steak
Oh.
and lamb and some salt, and it's basically a very strict diet. I only did it for a few weeks to get rid of everything else in your body. And even doing that, I felt amazing.
Oh, that's really good to hear. All right. So after you did those diets, the carnivore diet and the lion diet, you've been able to kind of reintegrate other genres of food.
Yeah, pretty much mainly fruits and vegetables. And even then, I'm kind of limited, but I haven't really brought back a lot of processed stuff because that's, I know something that I can't handle very well.
Mm,
Sugar, I do very minimal. I do not do gluten at all. I do very minimal dairy. I
mm.
can't do soy at all. I have a severe soy allergy, and then I can't do nuts. So that kind of stuff completely stays out of my diet or mostly out of my
Wow.
diet.
Quite restrictive.
It is. And it stinks sometimes because you feel left out once in a while. But
Mm.
at the same time, it's like, if I eat that, I know how I'm going to feel.
Mm. And usually you said it's like it can be nausea, vomiting, things like that.
Yeah. And in my case, the bloat gets so bad it hurts like under the ribs, and I'll just be
Oh,
in pain. And so trying to lay down when you're sleeping while, you have like this severe bloating, it's just miserable.
yeah. Sounds tough. So it started when you were 13 with irritable bowel syndrome. And then eventually you mentioned that you got more diagnoses. So what was the next one?
The polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Okay, how old were you when you were diagnosed with that?
So I was, I think how old I am now. I think I was 29 when I finally got the diagnosis, but I knew that I had it,
Hmm.
kind of. Like the symptoms were all there. I just couldn't find a doctor who would actually listen to me until I found my
Oh,
recent doctor.
yeah. I'm glad that you found a doctor that listens to you.
Oh, me too. It's been a huge blessing.
So was that when you got sick, when you got PCO, or when you started realizing you had PCOS? Is that when you got sick and felt you were returning back to God?
No, so that's something I've had for a while that just kind of affect more lady problems than anything. And
Hmm.
then there's also some embarrassing side effects like unwanted hair growth on your chin and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And weight gain. Oh, the weight gain from that was
Hmm.
terrible because you develop insulin resistance, and so your body stops responding to insulin, and it just keeps creating it and creating it, trying to
Oh my
make your
goodness.
body, respond to it. And you have high testosterone, you have low progesterone, and then you have estrogen dominance, which creates its own problems.
Wow.
So that is something that was just, it was miserable, but it's something I could kind of come to terms with. The turning to God wasn't until 20, well, really coming back to God wasn't really until 2019, 2020,
Hmm.
when I ended up with a very severe infection.
Oh no.
Nearly killed me.
Oh my goodness. Are you serious?
Yeah. I
Wow.
ended up, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's C. diff, and it's a severe infection in the colon that a lot of the bacteria it doesn't respond to antibiotics well.
Hmm.
But the problem was I was misdiagnosed 2 or 3 times. And they're like, well, you just have a bad stomach bug. So they would give me medication to stop me from going to the bathroom because with C. diff, you can't stop going, which is TMI. I'm sorry, but
Oh
that's
no,
what it
that's
is.
fine. Yeah.
And so the toxins were building up in my system. And
Oh
so
my goodness.
finally, when I got a diagnosis, they gave me medication, and I was on that, but it didn't kill the infection and it came back. And that second infection with that other second round of medication is when the alarm bell started going off that, hey, something's really, really bad.
Hmm.
And I actually got scared to the point that I earnestly started praying again and going to the Bible because I didn't know what else to do.
What caused this infection? Was it related to PCOS or was it something completely unrelated?
It's unrelated. So by then I already had autoimmune problems because the psoriasis and stuff had already kind of kicked in,
Okay.
which already weakened the system. But I was on antibiotics for 2 or 3 months before that. So my
Hmm.
system was completely wiped out. My gut bacteria was pretty much wiped out, which is where a lot of your immune health comes from, is the intestine. And so a lot of people, C. diff won't bother a lot of people because when you have the good bacteria in your gut, it kind of keeps the bad at bay.
Mm-hmm.
But when your good bacteria is gone, the bad bacteria kind of becomes a bully
Mm. Yeah.
and takes over. And that's what happened after so many rounds of antibiotics.
Oh man. So what did they have to do then?
For the infection,
Yeah.
I was just on round after round, very strong antibiotics
Wow.
until it finally went away. And then after that, my body pretty much crashed. And that's what caused the Hashimoto's and everything to kick in because my immune system was just, shot.
Okay, so tell us more about psoriasis. So you were diagnosed with IBS first, then PCOS, then was it psoriasis next?
Yeah.
So I'm not familiar with psoriasis at all. So I would love to hear what it is and what it's like to live with it.
Inflammation in the skin, it's when your body starts attacking your skin cells and it makes them multiply too quickly. So with with psoriasis, you'll see like very red areas and it's scaly, like skin flakes basically. And you'll see it a lot of times in the scalp, on the elbows, on the knees, and it could really go anywhere. I have it across the back of my scalp, the back of my neck, behind my ears, in my ears, and on my
Wow.
knees, and occasionally sometimes on my face, but I have to be in a bad flare up for that.
Hmm.
And it is incredibly itchy.
Hmm.
Like, have you ever had an itch? One of those random itches that just itch so bad and you have to get it because it's so
Yeah.
annoying.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that, but all the time.
Oh no. No, no, no. I don't like that idea.
Comes and goes. Sometimes when the immune system finally calms down, or if you're on steroids or something, it'll go away. But when you're in a flare up, or even like say when the weather changes, or you eat something wrong,
Yeah.
it comes back.
Dang. So is that the main symptom is like really itchy, flaky skin?
Yeah, I would say
Man. Oh, that sounds it sounds irritating, like a constant kind of pestering.
it is. And the worst part is, at least for me, there are times where I don't realize I'm like scratching, or I'll do it in my sleep, and then you have cracked, bleeding skin, and then you get sores, and
Ah, yeah. Yeah, that sounds painful. And I bet if it gets bad on your hands too, that would definitely damper a lot of ability to work with certain things too.
yeah. And then I have had a little bit of arthritis with it, but not enough to like keep me from doing things. But there are people who end up with psoriatic arthritis and it just, they're not able to do things anymore. And like they used
Oh,
to like sew and, write.
man. And that's just because it hurts so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's so rough. So you said that there are medications that can help it to tame down and it
There
kind
are
of, okay.
medications. You can be on steroids, but you don't want long-term steroid use because it can cause issues. And then
Mhm.
I have never tried any of the psoriasis medications. I was told that they're very expensive, and I usually pay all my medical stuff out of pocket. So I was like, I'll just, put some Aquaphor on it and hope for the best.
And it's been fine, like doing that has helped.
It keeps it moisturized, which helps with some of the flaking and itching, but it's still there,
Hmm.
but it helps a little bit.
Oh, I'm glad it at least soothes it a little, but that's kind of a bummer that the main thing is steroids because, like you said, I've heard. I don't know the specifics of complications. If you're listening and you want to educate us on the damage that taking steroids long term can do, feel free. But I've heard that it causes issues, so that's kind of a bummer because it'd be nice if it were a medication that's just kind of like you take a pill and you're fine. Like, you don't have to worry about adjusting or anything. So that's tricky.
It is. I know there are other medications that are specifically for psoriasis. Like I said, I've never tried them, but you have to weigh the pros and cons because from what I've seen, at least on those medical commercials,
Hmm.
there's like 20 side effects and it's
Yeah,
like,
yep.
do I wanna
Every single medication.
yeah.
For sure. All right, and then your last that you developed was Hashimoto's, right?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us more about that.
Hashimoto's and the thyroiditis kind of go hand in hand. I have hypothyroidism from it. And so I don't know really the specifics, but I know basically my body sees my thyroid as the enemy and is
Hmm.
essentially trying to destroy my thyroid.
Oh man.
And which when your thyroid isn't working properly and it's not creating the hormones you need, it creates a whole lot of problems because every cell in your body has to have the thyroid hormones to work
Mm.
properly. And that also puts me at risk developing other autoimmune diseases because my body already is attacking itself. So there is
Mm.
still a chance that I could get, other autoimmune issues, like type 1 diabetes, lupus,
Oh man,
multiple
no.
sclerosis, like all sorts of stuff.
So what are like your day-to-day symptoms like with Hashimoto's?
When I'm not flaring up, generally I have like just kind of chronic fatigue regardless.
Yeah.
But if I am in a flare up, it depends on the severity. A really bad flare up for me, I will have the worst vertigo, like hanging onto walls to walk.
Oh.
Yeah, it really, it's rough. And then just painful exhaustion. Like you can't gather enough energy to really do anything, which stinks because it's hard to sleep
Mm.
also. But all you want to do is sleep. And then it also affects your gut motility. So your stomach, because you're not getting that hormone, won't digest things properly. So you could eat breakfast and it will be undigested by dinner. And
Oh
so
man.
and so that causes a lot of, vomiting and constipation, which creates, more problems like dehydration.
Yeah.
And then in a less severe flare up, like I've had recently, one, I'm just exhausted, but two, I'll get cold, like unbearably cold on the inside. Like it was 75 degrees. I was in a sweatshirt, sweatpants,
Mm.
slippers, and a blanket because I just couldn't get warm. And it felt like I had a fever. But when I took my temperature, it was like 97.6. But when you get get a fever and you have that skin ache and your joints hurt,
Mm.
that's what it felt like.
Oh man. Just feels like you're sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds painful. Why did which illness was it that brought you kind of back to Christ? I think you might have brought that up a little bit. And yeah, what was that process like? Because I know that you mentioned you were at such a point where was this when you had the infection? Thank you so much for spending your precious time with Christians with chronic illnesses. Your support means more to us than we can even describe. If you have a desire to donate or join a subscription for Christians with chronic illnesses, please see links in the show notes below.
It was. I was to the point I couldn't eat. I was battling dehydration really bad. I couldn't even walk. I was so weak. And this is going to sound crazy. I was laying there and this is like the second month of me being sick. And there was almost like alarms in my head going off of you're dying.
Hmm.
And so I was like, I don't want to die yet. And I started praying and I started reading my Bible and reading verses about healing. And I had my husband pray over me. And, I started talking to Christian friends and family that I hadn't talked to in years and was like, hey, this is what's going on. Can you please pray? And that's really what got me out of that lukewarm situation.
Was that desperation? Yeah. Okay, so when you got out of the hospital with the infection, as the infection healed, when were you diagnosed with your other illnesses and what was the process like? Was it like, like it took years to get those diagnoses? Was it immediately after?
It was 2023. So it had been 3 years. I had been to a number of doctors, some specialists. I had to fight to get in with the specialist because,
Oh.
like I said, I pay with everything out of pocket and they don't really want to work with you unless you have insurance and a dedicated doctor. And so it was hard getting people to listen because they're like, well, that infection rocked your body. You'll just get better eventually. Okay. They're like, well, the hormone stuff, you got to lose weight. Well, I can't. Like with the PCOS and the Hashimoto's, it's very difficult. And even dieting and exercise, I could do that and track everything. And in 6 months, maybe lose 5 pounds.
Wow.
And so they were telling me these things, and I was like, is there any tests we can do? Is there anything we can do? Because it's not just, hey, I'm fat and lazy. There's something else going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had moved out of the city into the suburbs, and I was just tired of being sick. I was like, I'm tired of feeling like this. I am barely 30 years old, and I should not be in pain all the time. I wasn't able to do the things that I used to do. And it was frustrating for my friends and my family, and it was frustrating for me. I felt like a prisoner in my own body. So I started looking for doctors because I was like, you know what? I'm going to find a dedicated doctor so we can figure this out. And that's when I came across my current doctor, which is really cool because she does direct primary care. So if you don't have insurance, you just pay a monthly fee and you get like all these free services, and you can go in there
Wow.
like many times as you need. And she'll spend like an hour to 2 hours with you every time because she only takes so many patients.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I found her, we spent 2 hours talking, and I'm telling her all these things. And she's like, okay, I think you have this, 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 and this. Let's do all these tests. And I was
Amazing.
like,
Wow.
finally.
Yeah. Oh, that's so relieving.
So once I got some answers, we started, different lifestyle changes and protocols to try to get things under control.
Was that just like diet changes and experimenting with foods to see how your body reacted?
A lot of it was that the dietary changes made the biggest difference. And then being more active, which was difficult because when you're tired and in pain, you don't want to move.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I started out slow, trying to walk more, and then eventually started lifting weights and stuff, which helped. And then had a number of supplements to help my body start healing on its own, but there were a couple medications also added into the mix to help with the inflammation and to deal with the autoimmune issues.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing what some of those supplements and medications were that helped you?
Vitamin D and vitamin B were big ones because I was low on both of those. And then a lot fixing the guts. I had something called phytobiome. You can find a lot of this at like Designs for Health or something. Phytobiome, which feeds the bacteria. It's like a prebiotic. And then I was on Akkermansia, which is a vital bacteria that I was completely missing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was on a couple other probiotics. I was on a digestigine, which is basically adding like more acid to my stomach because there wasn't enough of it.
Wow.
And I know one has like selenium in it for my thyroid, and then another one has a lot of anti-inflammatory stuff. Like I can't think of the name of it, but it's the chemical that's in like turmeric that helps fight inflammation.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Dude, I'm so glad that those have helped. So I know obviously you still have your flare-ups, and you mentioned that often you can get like extreme vertigo and you're always pretty much tired, really tired. But it has improved. I presume with the treatment and diet and medication, those have helped you to manage symptoms.
Yeah, overall it has. I
Oh,
don't
that's
get
awesome.
severe flare-ups as much as I used to. Once in a while if I'm not sleeping right and if I'm overly stressed.
Yeah.
But most of the flare-ups at this point are pretty minor.
That's
I'm
so
very grateful for
awesome.
that.
Yeah, that's super cool, Jordan. Oh, that's incredible. Okay, so you had mentioned that you came back to Christ through that desperation of your infection. You were diagnosed with all these different things. And so I want to hear about how seeking out Christ, talking to Christian friends, reading, scriptures on healing, how did and has all of that helped you with your chronic illness?
It's given me hope because once everything had hit, I just felt hopeless, being in pain all the time, being sick all the time, feeling terrible, not being able to think straight. And with PCOS, being embarrassed with like facial hair and stuff, you feel terrible, you feel hopeless. And so being able to lean on God has given me hope that not only that, maybe one day I can be better or put stuff into remission, but even if I can't, that it's going to be okay.
So why? What truth? have you clung to that's given you hope in that? What's assured you that everything's going to be okay despite being sick?
I think if we're going to the Bible, I think Revelation 21:4 has kind of given me the most hope. And it's, if it's okay, I don't mind reading it for you.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
He will wipe away every tear from the eyes, and death shall be no more. Neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain any more, for the former things have passed away. And he who was seated on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new.
Hmm.
And so just thinking that one day, all of this will be over. One day, we won't be, crying from pain or mourning our health or mourning loved one or whatever, the pain is.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be gone. And we're going to have such a joy that we can't even imagine in this life.
Hmm.
And that really gives me hope.
So kind of believing in the afterlife of heaven with Christ and believing in that all pain will be gone, that he'll wipe away every tear, that's giving you hope.
It is. I know it sounds kind of macabre being like, hey, I'm waiting for death, but it's more, I know it's that promise that God has given us that if we hang on.
Aw. What about here in the present? Has there been, and if not, like, that's just fine. I love your honesty and I love hearing your different perspective. I know a lot of Christians, the thought of heaven is very comforting. So are there any other things for the present now? Like, how does the Holy Spirit strengthen you day to day? Do you think there's any specific, like, example of that?
I think the Holy Spirit will always remind me that I'm not alone in this, which is helpful. And then there's actually a Bible story that is very comforting for me in the present, because I'm one of those people, I don't like to rest. I am a very much get stuff done kind of person.
Yeah, me too.
And then I feel guilty when I try to rest. And so, are you familiar with 1 Kings 18 and 19?
No, tell me about it.
So, Elijah, who was a prophet, was exhausted after dealing with the prophets of Baal, I think, or Baal, I don't know how to say it.
Yeah.
And he was fleeing from Jezebel, who wanted to take his life. And while running for his life, he had asked God to just let him die. And then he went to sleep. Well, God had sent an angel who gave him, and I'm paraphrasing, a snack and a drink 2 different times. So 2 different times he took a nap, and 2 different times God sent him a snack and a drink. And so it's comforting to know that, God wants us to rest, and he knows that sometimes we just need a snack and a nap.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to remind myself that, hey, if it was good enough for Elijah, who was a prophet of God, I can rest too.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. I am familiar with that and I've heard that. But I do think that's genuinely so important. Like, I think that sometimes we can neglect, for lack of better words, I guess, our flesh. Like, sometimes we neglect that we're just human and that it's okay and there's no shame in resting, in getting the food and water that you need. There is no shame in taking Sabbath when God literally, like, when he created the world, how the story goes is that, he, on the seventh day, he rested and he told us to rest. And so I think there's a lot of people like you and me, Jordan, out there who, like, we just want to push, push, push. And so this is one thing I've actually been learning through my chronic illness. And I think, like, this is going to sound arrogant, but I sound arrogant all the time. So say lovey. But, like, I think that's one way God, like, humbled me, is because I was so, like, go, 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 and I think very much valued my worth on my work and, like, what I could do, what I can contribute to society. And I still do. And I think that I'm being humbled because when you're chronically ill, as you talked about earlier with experiencing chronic fatigue, there's just so much less you can do. Like another person I interviewed talked about how, his energy percent went from maybe 100 to 80, and then now it's like down to 30, whereas it used to be like he was in full swing, and now on a day-to-day basis, he's dealing with like 30% of the energy he used to have. And so I think that lots of people will be able to relate to that, Jordan, that sometimes even God knows. God made us human, and there's also like a verse in Psalm 103 that talks about how God remembers that we're dust. Like, he remembers we're human. He knows what we're made of. Like, he knows we're mortal and finite, and he loves us, and he wants to take care of us, even if that's through, a snack, or even if that's through taking a nap. So yeah, that was a great scripture to share. Thanks. I appreciate that.
Welcome. And I want to say something on what you said. I don't think it's arrogant at all. I think it is humbling, and I think a lot of times I believe that God turns ugly into good. So bad things that happen because we live in a fallen world, that God will use it for good. And I think sometimes us being sick is the only way he can get our attention.
That's rough.
It is. It's kind of sobering because it's like, wow, I couldn't pay attention to him until I, had nothing left. And it kind of makes you feel a little guilty because it's like, I should have been doing better.
Mm. Yeah, well, I don't know. I think that's like, I think that can be like a harmful mindset too, to be careful, because I think we do shame ourselves a lot for like our chronic illness. And we think, kind of like what you just said, like, oh man, like if only I was doing better, if only I was listening better. And there's always like the possibility like God could be using it to, get our attention, or like using it to wake us up. But also sometimes like I kind of just believe sometimes that like we live in a fallen world, and like just because of that, like sickness happens. And so I want to encourage you too that like, like I wouldn't, shame yourself too much.
Oh, no, I really don't. It was more of a realization that I wasn't paying attention to God until I got sick. Because I
Oh,
know
yeah.
shame is the voice of the enemy, and it's not something, I live
Yeah.
under, because I know who I am in Christ. But it was more the realization of I I really wish I had focused on God before I got
Mm,
sick. And I know I can't turn back time, and that I'm doing what I need to be doing now.
yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, okay. So it's like you started listening to more once you got sick, realized how nice that was, and wished that, more of your life would have been like that.
I feel like things would have been a lot easier had I had that hope.
Hmm. Yeah. Hope is so important, dude.
If
Seriously.
you don't have hope, I mean, you don't really have anything to hang on to.
Right. I think it's beautiful that you're able to find hope despite your chronic illness. And I'm glad that it's been Christ and scripture that has been that for you. Yeah. It's
Me too.
really,
I really don't think I would be able to do this without my faith and without
mm.
God.
Yeah. Well, that kind of segues into the next question I wanted to ask you, as we're talking about hoping in God and relying on God. Do you think that there's like a balance of relying on God and relying on others? And if so, like, I don't know what that's looked like in your life and your marriage. But yeah, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit on that.
In my marriage, it does go God, and then me and my husband, and then everybody else. And I think in life, when it comes to like all of this, I think first and foremost, I have to rely on God.
Mm.
And then generally, when it comes to my illness, I will say I kind of put me and my doctor kind of at even keel, because I do a lot of my own research, and she's helped me a lot. And I know she's also a good Christian woman. And then
Mm.
I'll put my husband there too, not because he does, not that he necessarily does research and stuff, but he is my biggest supporter and the one who
Mm.
understands the most and protects me, in the sense of, a lot of people don't see that I'm sick. And so
Mhm.
I have a hard time saying no to people. So he will have to step in for me and be like, hey, she's not feeling well, or hey, this is
Right.
going to put too much stress on her.
Yeah.
And then I will say comes, my other Christian friends and family.
Hmm. Yeah. So you find a lot of people kind of just intervening for you in a way.
Mainly my husband and my doctor, not so much everyone else. There are people that are understanding, and then there are people who are very much less understanding.
Hmm.
And I will say there are also, I have some Christian friends who I love dearly who mean well,
Hmm.
but aren't as helpful as they think they are.
Yeah. What does that look like?
I have some friends who are very holistic too, but they take it a little bit to the extreme
Hmm.
in the sense of not trusting doctors whatsoever. And then if I tell them, hey, this is what's going on, they'll tell me that, well, you need to rebuke that. You can't accept that. You need to pray harder, or you're not
Hmm.
praying enough, or you're not having people lay hands on you enough, or you did this in your past. And
Hmm.
that is works based faith.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's right.
Yeah.
God, like you said earlier, we live in a fallen world. Sometimes we're just sick. And I believe that God will use it one way or another, but we can't we can't make God do something. Like we're supposed to pray, sorry, pray constantly. And I do. But if I'm not healed, then I assume that God has a plan. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend to know what that is. And
Yeah.
so I think even though they mean well, that can be a very hurtful thing because it does make you feel like you're not doing enough, or it does
Yeah.
sometimes make you wonder, like, is my faith not good enough? Are my prayers not good enough? You know?
Absolutely. So what do you think would be, if often I think that's a very common thing that Christian brothers and sisters, particularly those of more charismatic denominations, no shame, like no flack, but like I think that that is a common theme that and belief in those circles is that, if you have enough faith, you will be healed. And, and then just people in general tend to insert their opinions where they're not necessarily helpful. So grace to you guys. Much love that you're here. But what would you say is a more helpful way that they can respond?
I would say for the first thing, just listen. Just just listen. Don't be quick to admonish somebody based on what you think they're doing wrong. And then I will say, if you're really concerned about their health or whether they're accepting, whatever, just pray with them. You know, just pray with them. Don't tell them they're not doing enough and stuff. Or go to scripture, find healing scriptures about, I'm sorry, my brain is like Bible
No, you're
verses
good.
about, healing, like Matthew, I think it's 9:20, where the woman reached out and touched Jesus's hem. Or, there's a number of great passages about healing that you could give someone to uplift them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you think that listening, praying with them instead of saying, "Oh, you're not praying enough," and then giving them scriptures that remind them of the truth. You think those are
Yeah,
helpful things? Yeah.
I think that is one of the most helpful things. Don't get me wrong. I do believe in laying on hands. I do believe that we're supposed to pray for people and stuff, but
Yeah.
I also understand that, again, God has a plan for everything.
Yeah.
And sometimes, the plan doesn't look like the way we think it's going to be.
Hmm. Yeah. What do you think? Like, when you think that God has a plan for you in your chronic illness, where do you see God using it so far?
God has, I think, used it for me to help others because I had to kind of look at my own health, and because I was failed by the medical system so much, I started looking into more natural ways of healing. And
Hmm.
that's how I got into herbalism. And through that, I have been able to help people considerably with, salves and tinctures and teas, just a variety of things I've been able to make to help people deal with illness and pain.
So you're definitely being educated on more natural ways to help.
Yeah. And I think God has used this to, like I said, help me help others.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet, dude. Like, kudos to you for, you know, I think that you're honoring God with that. Like with that, you're wanting to be educated and learn these things not only to help you, but to help other people. That's really beautiful because I think,
Yeah.
it can be easier sometimes to just take those resources and not share them. So thanks for sharing them with others.
Yeah, of course. And I'm not gonna lie, originally it was for myself. But
Hmm.
then as I started learning and hearing other people with other problems, I was like, okay, I see what you're doing, God.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that you're going to use it to serve others. That's beautiful. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on this podcast with us. What would be the last thing that you would say to the audience? What's one final word of encouragement that you would give to chronically ill brothers and sisters, or one word that you would like to give to the church about chronic illness?
For people who are chronically ill, you are not cursed. It is not your fault. Don't feel bad about it and just take care of yourself and keep clinging to God. Because if you don't have hope, then you don't have anything to look forward to. And as for the church, don't condemn people. People can't help it if they're sick. Just, love them and pray for them and, uplift them like Christ did.
That's bars. I love that. Well, Jordan, thanks so much for sharing your story. It means a lot, and I have no doubt that people listening will find this encouraging.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being a part of the Christians with Chronic Illnesses community. Please remember to follow, rate, and subscribe to the show. You can also follow us on our socials at CWCI Podcast. And if you're interested in sharing your story, please email us at cwcipodcast@gmail.com. If you are interested in contributing to the production of Christians with Chronic Illnesses, please see the show notes below for subscriptions starting as low as $1 a month, or email us for a more direct way to give. This show is hosted and produced by Ellie Sprague, and our incredible logo, thumbnail, and overall CWCI artist is Brianna Middleton. This show is intended for entertainment and encouragement purposes only. Please talk to your doctor before trying anything you hear on this show. Until next Monday. I present to you The Supernatural Case of an Accidental Time Traveler by my husband, Paul J. Trumba. It's a super interesting book. I'm not even much of a reader, but I read through this thing pretty easily. It's pretty large print, and it's about 500 pages. You can find it on Amazon. It's about Lou Barrett, who suddenly finds himself in, London in the 1800s. He has no idea how he got there, and he goes on to form a really hilarious and cute relationship with a witch, a wizard, and a brawler, and they go on to fight supernatural evils together. I highly recommend. It's definitely for mature readers, but it's a really good book, and you can find it on Amazon. Again, that's The Supernatural Case of an Accidental Time Traveler by Paul J. Trumba.